Welcome to another episode with Share Your Story with Chent. Today, I have Joe Escobar with me. Now, Joe is about things. He's a podcaster, he's ex LinkedIn, he's Forbes, he calls himself the brand builder, he's a professor, a CEO. How to start your journey on LinkedIn?
My objective was never to really drive any sales out of it. It was more in terms of to educate. The reason for that is my mom was a early childhood education teacher. I've been in education for most of my life. And so that's one thing that I'm really passionate about is really sharing some of the lessons and tips that I've learned over the years. And that was essentially it. And when I had that mindset, I realized that by default, people look at you as an expert because they're learning something from you, and by default, they want to find out, okay, let's find out more about this person. So I've been invited to do podcasts, speak at big conferences, and obviously grow the business just through the content that I share in a very educational and hopefully engaging.
That's actually great advice as well. For starting out, I believe it's good to follow a few people because it just helps you get a little bit of a vision moving forward. But I seriously believe that individuality is what makes you different. So you got to have your own way of proceeding, and you can be anything you want, to be honest. It's just, you got to believe in yourself. So you obviously, you had a vision when you started, or was it just going with the flow?
I would say it's very much going with the flow. I think when I first started, I didn't really know who my audience was or what topics I really want to talk about. So that's another thing that I really want to share with folks is it's really, really tough to stand out now if you're a generalist talking about everything under the sun. But the more you niche down, the more opportunity you have to stand out from the crowd. And people always ask me, how do I stand out from all the clutter that's going on LinkedIn and other social media platforms? My number one advice is always finding your niche. So for me, I started the podcast last year and I had no idea what I wanted to talk about. I talked about basically everything. And then I talked about things that I found very fascinating. I found ideas or topics that people wanted to hear more about. And that's where I niched down to the B2B Marketing Asia podcast. Previously, it was a Cup of Joe where we just talked about anything that was on my mind. But as the year progressed, I said, okay, it's going to be tough for me to stand out because it's such a general topic. How do I make it more specific? And that was a big shift for me in terms of the way I promote the content and build the content and making sure that it falls under that umbrella of B2B marketing, focusing on Asian leaders, Asian salespeople, and Asian marketers. So that was really important for me.
Awesome. And if you don't know, you are also part of an inspiration for me from a group of people that helped me start my podcast. I remember watching a podcast, and then I had obviously my mastermind and my mentor and also supporting me. So it's really, yeah, it's amazing to hear you say things and give advice and also talk about your journey. And again, you're such an inspiration. And I'm sure I see the comments on your podcast. I see how you interact with people. Uh, it's great because everyone needs somebody to follow and start and guide. What was your strategy, and how do people create a strategy for LinkedIn specifically now, 2021?
I think you gave some really good advice earlier in terms of stealing from other people. Definitely stole in the very beginning ideas. I think Gary Vaynerchuk, I'm not a huge fan of his content, but I think in terms of content distribution, I don't think anyone does it better than him and his team. So I definitely got a lot of ideas in terms of different formats, whether it's carousels or animations and things like that, because I think he does it very well. So steal as much as you can. I always save post on LinkedIn. I look at it later and I say, okay, I like this. How can I apply it to what I'm doing? Going back to your point of injecting your own personality. So I think collecting as much great resources or examples as possible, analyzing those, why did you like them? How can you put your own spin on them?